Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortle Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Jake, and with me as always, the Stream King, the Far Cry Guy, the roaming Ronin, and the man who conquered fear, Steven.
That was the one you were so proud of?
Okay, let's not be mean, all right?
Okay. Here's what happens.
How many titles have you come up with for me, Steven? Let's dial this back a bit.
How many times have I asked you to come up with one for me?
Okay,
that's what I thought. Okay, Jake talks to me before we start this, and he's just like, okay, you're the roaming Ronin.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's fear? Do you have a name for fear? And I just went, Point Man's the name of the character, and he went, never mind, I got it. I don't care. I got it. Just like, don't care what you think, Steven. I've got this. It's gonna be great, and that's it.
I don't know what to tell you.
I expected better.
Well,
I expected more.
You know why I'm not having any better, Steven? It's because I'm not drinking Red Bull. Steven, are you a Red Bull fan? I just have
no, but I am a Diet Dr. Pepper cream soda man.
I am a Dr. Pepper cream soda drinker as of right now, not sponsored. But hey, Dr. Pepper, if you wanted to send me some Diet Dr. Pepper cream soda, I would pay for it.
We would make all the videos about it. You guys would be just like the soda darling of Chortle Games.
I would be like
honestly
Nick Saban, and I would just like have a Diet Dr. Pepper just cream soda just like sat in front of me at all times. You don't have to pay me. You just send me some sodas to have, and I would do it.
And we'll pay you in good PR.
We will. Yeah, that's all it is.
Easily.
No. So back to Red Bull though, Steven. So you're not a Red Bull drinker?
No, I don't drink piss.
Okay. I understand the criticism. I've been where you are at. Okay. But I've ascended. All right. I've crossed that barrier. All right. Whether it's hell or heaven, I can't really tell you, but I'm on another plane. Okay. I recently discovered Red Bull, and when they advertise that it gives you wings, they're not fucking joking. I drank 60 ounces of Red Bull yesterday, and I pulled off like basically a 24-hour day. I was wired the whole time, never tired. I'm still rolling off of it. You know what I mean?
My right eye's twitching. I don't know why. There's blood coming out of it.
I'm jittering, but that shit works is all I'm here to tell you. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not what we're here to talk about. This is Chortle Cast, the official podcast of Chortle Games. We talk about video games, TV shows, movies, anime, occasionally Red Bull, and always Diet Dr. Pepper cream soda. But we got a great show for you this week. We are going to talk about the PS5 UI, which was finally revealed. I say finally. Everybody's been excited about it. We're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, some recent news about how the male and female character choice will work. And then we're going to talk about Avengers. They've postponed Kate Bishop and some of the other DLC. And then we're going to round off the show with mine and Steven's thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the new co-op multiplayer.
So basically, to translate what Jake just said, we're going to speed our way through all these things just so we can talk about Ghost of Tsushima. And then we're going to talk probably pretty quickly through that so we can go play Ghost of Tsushima. Steven, because it's good. It's really fun.
To spoilers alert, it's good. It's really good. We're going to talk all about it. Let's dive right in. Let's start with some good news. PS5 has revealed their UI, and I'm gonna talk through it. If you want to see the full UI reveal, look it up on YouTube and check it out. It's fairly short. I want to say it's like 10 to 12 minutes. Never mind. It looks like it's 7 minutes. So it's short.
Wow.
It's disappointingly short, but there's some fun tidbits to come in there. So to get through some obvious things, it's fast. It's very quick. Jumping between games is quick. So, next gen, great. I'm not going to make the arguments of, is it faster? There's people who are like super analyzing, like it's 0.1576 faster than the Xbox. Like, I don't care. They're fast, great. But the big thing is
it could be slower than the Xbox and I wouldn't care.
It's going to be faster than our current PlayStation. And that's what really matters. So, the big thing though they showed off was the control center. Okay, so right now when you hold the PS button, the PlayStation button, it'll bring up a control center. You can like put your console in rest mode. You can set your online, offline status, blah, 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 all that jazz. It looks a little different now. Now it brings up cards, and they're like just these little boxes. And there's lots of different things that you can go to. We're assuming at this point that they can be customized, or it might even be like the system as you play, it'll kind of learn what your preferences are. But one of the cool things that they kind of showed off on that, so like you can do things like check your trophy progress and just some other like basic stuff. But one of the cool things they showed off was these activity cards. And so basically, they were showing Sackboy's Adventure. It was the game they were demoing this with. And so they had several of these activity cards. And what it breaks down to me is you can click on one of these cards and quickly see an activity in the game and see your progress on it. So in the case of Sackboy, it looked like each world or each level had its own activity card. And so you could see, on World 1, I've completed 90% of it. You could then see, like, what were you missing to complete that? And then the system, based on your play, like record data of collected from you playing, it will estimate how long the system thinks it'll take for you to finish this.
So it's like an e-reader, but for video games.
Kind of,
how it's like, you have this much time left in this chapter. That's neat. That's helpful for people who have a time constraint.
Absolutely. It's a lot. And, I can say this, I think, about Xbox and PlayStation, but it definitely seems like this next generation is very much trying to respect your time as a gamer. Like, when you're gaming, you're going to be playing, in the new generation, you're going to be playing when you're gaming. You're not going to be checking Twitter through a loading screen, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's all cool. That's all really cool stuff. But what's crazy to me, and I'm really curious how this is going to work across other games. But you can actually click on that card and it will instantly take you to that level. So supposedly this could have even further ramifications of, like, Ghost of Tsushima. Say I'm in the middle of the story campaign, I can hit Control Center, jump to Legends, and go from there. In fact, that's another thing they showed, and I might be jumping ahead of myself a little bit here on my list. So I apologize if I have to backtrack later. But so one of the other things they did with the cards was they had the player was playing Sackboy, and then they got an invite from their friend to join them in that. What's the new Demolition Derby game? Do you remember that everybody was so excited about? But then it was like a kart game, and we were like, oh, do you remember what that was called?
I have no idea.
I forget what it was called. I zoned out once that game came on. But anyway, it was a multiplayer game. The person joined a party, and they sent him an invite to come play that. And he could click the card, and it instantly loaded him into that lobby with his friends. So
that's impressive.
He didn't have to go to the game and then load up and all this jazz. It just took him straight there. Now, it did they fast forwarded through, like, the process of, he got into the game and then got in and it started. So there is a little bit of movement there, but you didn't have to come out of the game, close the game you were working on, open the game you were in. It just took you straight there. That was really cool. Okay, back. So I knew I was going to have to backtrack somewhere. Backtracking a bit. The other thing, so they talked about, okay, say World 1, I'm got 90% of it done. Looks like I'm missing a costume in that level. So they clicked the activity card that took them to the level, and then they opened up Control Center, and there was a help card. And so there's built-in game help now. And so this is stuff that's going to be available for, I think they said, like, most PS5 games. You assume first-party games. I assume third-party games will have the option to take advantage of this, but how many of them are actually going to take the time to put in effort for this? But basically, it can show you a video or give you hints of where you need to go, what you need to do. But on top of that, you can do a picture-in-picture of this video. So in the demo, they had to find he was looking for a costume, right? So he clicked the game help, said, I'm looking for this costume. It brought up a video. He said picture in picture. And then he could literally, I don't know if you've ever done this, Steven, when you're like looking for something very specific in a game that you've just been hiding from or like been looking for a while. I'll have my phone in one hand. Yep. I'll have my controller and I'm literally watching where this person's going in the video and then like just tracing the steps with my character. Literally, that's what was happening on screen. Was they had a second screen, picture in picture, and they were literally just following. That's crazy.
And that potentially has huge ramifications.
Absolutely.
For certain aspects of gaming. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. And the other thing, they talked about how it's going to be, if there's potential spoiler warnings, there's going to be, you know, demonstrations or like it's going to tell you and like warn you about that, which I thought was nice. I also thought IGN's comments about this was really funny of like, they were like, hey, we do that too on our stuff. It's not like we just throw spoilers at you or anything, but whatever. Kind of funny. So while we're talking about picture in picture though, and I guess that's maybe where we're going next, talking about friend interactions. One of the coolest things to me, and personally as a channel, I'm very excited for, is when you're in a party with someone, you can actually screen share your gameplay with them. And again, I can utilize that picture-in-picture view for me to have a little corner of my screen showing what Steven's playing, so that I can see what he's doing, and then I can still see my game. That blows my mind in so many ways. Like, just thinking about like Legends, you know, or hell, any game that you and I play, Steven, because inevitably you say, Jake, follow me. And I turn around and you're gone, like literally just fucking gone. And so I could see your screen and be like, oh, he went towards that thing. And I could do that.
And when we play Avengers and I'm way out leveling you, we won't have to follow just your perspective.
Yeah, for streaming, I'm so excited. Now, I don't know that this would work with like broadcasting from the PlayStation, but for us, how we do everything, we use an Elgato system.
It should work. Yeah.
It should be able to show Steven's screen on my screen, and then suddenly you've got both perspectives. What I hope is I can program it to where it literally does a split screen, where I can see yours on half and I can see mine on half. I don't know that it's going to do that. But if it could, that'd be hella cool.
Though.
Like,
oh yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see what that's going to do.
Yeah, because that's something that Jake and I have been trying to figure out logistically for like a year and a half at least.
And like we could do it if we were together,
rich.
Like it and rich. We could do it if we had a physical location that we could both meet at and do things, but we haven't quite yet figured out a cheap or not even cheap, just a reasonably priced way to do that. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but this may not be perfect, but for literally no extra cost, it's going to be awesome to use. Yeah, so I can't wait. And then beyond that, there's a lot less clutter. When they showed the home screen, it, you know, right now, you know, when you're at the home screen, you have the lineup of all your games like right in the middle of the screen, which I don't dislike. So I don't know how I feel about this yet. I want to see it in action. But now, instead of it being in the middle, everything's to the top right. And so you can see more of whatever is behind you. It doesn't seem like they have, I can't really tell if they're doing themes or not. There was a Ratchet and Clank graphic in the background, but I couldn't tell if that was an advertisement or if that was a theme. But speaking of advertisements, the PlayStation Store is now built into the UI. So it's not a separate app. So that's going to work better. You can download things faster, get to things faster. So that'll hopefully help. As people continue to get new things. So there's lots of other stuff that I probably am missing. I'm kind of just hitting the high points here. But overall, I'm excited.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
it sounds good.
That's the stuff they've talked about. I don't think Xbox has really said anything about. You know, Xbox has been touting smart delivery and
that's not us taking shots at Xbox.
No. This is what I'm trying to get to is they're both doing something very different from each other. They're going after different things.
Because, you know, for the past probably 2 generations, it's been like which system is better.
Right.
But really now it's which system is right for you. That's kind of the thing that needs to be answered now. It is not PlayStation's better than Xbox or Xbox better than PlayStation. They're just like, it's almost like you need to answer a questionnaire now when you enter console gaming, like which one is right for me, because they are very different, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like they didn't say they have quick resume. They didn't demonstrate quick resume. But you can get to another game very quickly. What I wish they had done, because this would have, without saying they have quick resume, would have showed us that some level of quick resume was there. Was if because they went to that multiplayer game with their friends, and then that's where they ended. I was kind of hoping they would say, let's go back to Sackboy real quick, you know, and just show us like, you know, it's not quick resume, but you can get back into that game very quickly and get right back where you were or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to work. They didn't come out and just say it or call it that or show that it can do the same stuff. But you assume with it being faster, it's going to be faster. So it may not be quick resume like Xbox is doing, but it'll be better. So but anyway, in general, cool features. I'm glad we've seen it now. I can't wait to see more, hear more. I'm just ready for the system, just flat out. Period. I'll figure out all the bells and whistles once I get here to it.
Yeah. It's been interesting seeing, because like I'm very excited for the system, but like I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really pay too much attention to everything when it comes to next gen. I'm the kind of guy that's just like, give me the system, I'll make my opinion when I get it, because I know I'm getting PlayStation because it's got the exclusives, and exclusives are what I personally value.
Right.
And so it's been interesting this week because I feel like we've heard more from current gen games and how their upgrade is going to be delivered.
Yeah.
Than we have in previous weeks. Because I think there's, or at least in my limited vision of everything, there was the question of like, is everything getting delivered day of? Like the moment the system launches, is the upgrade going to be delivered? Like, what's the deal there? I thought I heard something about Destiny mentioning that. I didn't read the article. I just thought I saw that they mentioned like how it's going to be sent. Avengers, which we're going to talk in a little bit, they talked about that. And then Borderlands 3, I think is launch day upgrade. Yeah. For free for everyone who owns it on current gen. Yeah. So we've been getting more information about that this week. I wasn't taking that anywhere. I just thought of that and remembered, oh yeah, we actually heard more. So
yeah, Xbox released games that are optimized for lists, and it was I think it was like 40 or 50 games that they showed off that were none of it was like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I don't think was in that list. It was stuff that is current gen that is going to be day one optimized for like I know Sea of Thieves
games that are out now that because like at this point I think it's safe to assume that games that are coming out within like basically from this point to release of the console, any games that come out within that window, it's not really so much that they're optimized for next gen, it's that they were downgraded for current gen.
Yeah, well I think
because it's that weird kind of in between point, you know?
Right. I think, well, first off, regardless of if the developer creates an optimized version, all of the games that are coming out for PS4 and Xbox One X and well, just Xbox One, I'm not even gonna go there. All those games are going to be playable on the new systems, right? Right. But because of how much better the new systems are, they're automatically just going to run better. There have been a lot of people getting backwards compatibility games on their Xbox Series X that are out in the wild. And all they're talking about is just like, Destiny loading screens are a minute and a half long on the current gen. Next gen, it's 20 seconds, So
like beyond Avengers, just to mention again, we'll talk in detail in a minute, but like the upgrade, though it's not going to be out launch day, it's going to be running on a better system. So the frame drops are going to probably be like non-existent, because I know that's something that people still deal with. So there is a upgrade in the sense of the system being able to handle things better, but like not visual upgrade and stuff like that. So you're still technically getting it, but just not in the same vein that you may be expecting immediately.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that you may not be expecting immediately, like randomly changing genders, let's talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That was a horrible transition. I tried to get it. I tried to salvage
Speaking
it.
I almost made a mistake. Well, you know what? Shoot, I'll do it. Speaking of horrible transitions, you can be a male and go from male to female.
Whoa. Okay.
In Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So we've known for a while now that there are going to be two technically canonical genders for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Eivor can be played as a male or a female. And up until this point, we kind of just assumed that you just got to pick at the beginning which one you wanted. And then it would
kind of like with there. Odyssey, where you're one or the other, and then the fate of the other one is either incorporated. Well, I guess that'd be different, but
no. And we've known that you can at any point switch genders if you wanted. They confirmed that was going to work, but what we didn't know until recently, there was a promotional video that they did called "Unleash Your Inner Viking," and they were just talking about how the Animus works and kind of the differences of the Animus. And one of the things they mentioned was that there are three choices when you start the game for Eivor.
Eivor,
and it's female, male, or let the Animus decide. And so basically the default is the let the Animus decide. And so basically as you go through the story, your character's gender will change at different points in the story. So I don't think it's going to be like, oh, I'm stabbing a guy in gameplay and then I turn around to stab the other guy, but I'm a woman.
You crouch into a bush, a woman, and then you come out and you've got a full beard.
Where'd that woman go? So yeah, it's not going to be like that. It's probably going to be like as you go to the next chapter, of the game, like it'll switch who you are. But anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. If you want to hear more about that, you can read on and talk about that. But Steven, I want to get our thoughts on this. I know you've got a lot of strong opinions on Assassin's Creed, the series, and Valhalla. But what is your general thoughts on this?
So here's my general thoughts. Mm-hmm. I am all for more accessibility in games. Mm-hmm. Like being able to choose male or female in certain games makes sense. It's what you should do in an RPG where you create the character, where you insert yourself into the place of the character, kind of then, make them your avatar. That kind of thing makes a lot of sense. Yeah. If there was one series that I said, hey, maybe don't do that, it's Assassin's Creed. Right. Because Assassin's Creed is supposed to be, you are experiencing the memories of a character, a person that existed in history, which means things happened a specific way because it's literally history. So the moment, and Odyssey did this, and it pissed me off. Odyssey made it to where you could change the story based on your choices and dialogue, which fine. RPGs do that. That's great when they do that. But this is Assassin's Creed. It is supposed to be history. So you are literally doing the one thing. You're making history subjective. History is not subjective. Things happened.
They happened, and they happened a certain way.
They happened a certain way. And so but that's my first problem with it. I just think that's just dumb. That's a mistake, because that's getting rid of one of the best aspects of Assassin's Creed's story. Because outside of that, Assassin's Creed isn't special from a narrative standpoint. It's just not. Sorry. But on the other hand, and Ubisoft is guilty of this so much, especially since probably 2015, 2016, sometime around there. Ubisoft started doing this thing to where they would make the male and female aspect of a character like basically prioritize whether you get to say you are male or female over writing a character a certain way. Because it was easier and that it was more of a, self-insert for the player, which sometimes is what you need to do. It makes sense, especially in immersive titles and games where the gimmick is it is your story. But Assassin's Creed isn't your story. It's Eivor's story. So who is Eivor? We don't know, because there is no one answer for who is Eivor now, who is supposed to be a Viking that existed in the past. Because now not only is Eivor either a man or a woman based on the player's choices, but now also, like in Odyssey, Eivor could have been a complete scumbag. Eivor could have been the paragon of goodness. It depends on what the player decides. So history is, again, completely subjective. So what's the point? Why not just make this a fantasy RPG where the story can be crafted around what the things that happen are based around the choices of the player, rather than, hey, we'll put you in this period in history and make it to where it's whatever, man. It's a playground. Go do what you want. That doesn't make any sense. That makes it so uninteresting to me. And again, I am totally all for, like, in RPGs, I think it's very important to be able to insert yourself into a character. I have a hard time playing long-term RPGs where I spend a lot of time with a character. I have a harder time playing female characters. It's just the way I connect with characters. I don't know. Like there are a lot of male characters that I can't even connect with.
I was going to say John Marston in Arthur Morgan in
Arthur Morgan.
Red Dead. You could not get on board with.
I couldn't. But again, another reason for that was because his behavior was largely based on player choice. So Arthur Morgan was a blank slate. And so, like, if you're going to expect me to be invested in a character's story, write the character. Don't make me write the character, because then that's not good writing. That's giving us a lot of good multiple choice questions. Honestly, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And so I can't get behind a character like that in a story where the interesting part is, oh, cool, Eivor took part in this event in history. Eivor did this in this event. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just not interesting. It's boring. So it has nothing to do with me being like, boo, choosing man and woman, boo. It's not that. It's write good characters, but you can't this way. Use your gimmick.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Well, I think for the most part, I agree with what you're saying, but I do. So like Odyssey, for example, I agree. I think it sucked. And it did kind of bite them in the butt later where, they tried to have their cake and eat it too, right? They tried to give you a choice, but then depending on that choice, they expected certain things, the player to act a certain way. Like I know in the DLC, there was a moment where Cassandra gets pregnant and a lot of people were like, whoa. I didn't play her this way. Why is she doing this? Yada, yada. And so, they tried to stick to history and do what they were trying to do from that point, but it bit them in the butt for
they literally had to patch the game. And this is why it's such a risky thing. They open up a Pandora's box when they do that with Assassin's Creed, because to an extent they kind of have to make it to where this happened.
Right.
This stuff happened. And so when they give the player the option, when they say, like, when they make it a selling point, your choices matter.
Right.
And they make it to where, like, the character is a huge insert. When it's an important part of the story that Alexios or Cassandra have a child in a heterosexual relationship. And the player is like, well, hold on now.
I didn't play that way. Yeah.
I didn't play a heterosexual character. Then suddenly it's like, well, shoot. And what Ubisoft actually had to do, they had to fix Odyssey. They had to patch in a way to explain how homosexual playthroughs of Alexios and Cassandra had a child.
Right.
And so they wrote themselves into a corner because they don't realize how much of a mistake it is to mix history with player agency.
Yeah. Well,
it's a mistake.
So
it doesn't work.
So to keep going down the path I was trying to get to,
sorry,
that bit them in the butt. No, that's fine. that kind of bit them in the butt, and you're right, it doesn't mix well. So, but I do kind of like what they're doing here. Of basically what they're saying from a story standpoint is history doesn't know who this character is. We just know that the Vikings, led by some Viking, we know his name. We know their name was Eivor, or maybe we don't even know that much. We just know a Viking. We don't know what gender it was.
Right.
I say it. That sounds wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what gender they were.
Yeah.
So the animus is just going to fill in the hole, And so I think, agreeing with you, I do think that's going to be not quite. It's the story. I don't know that I can say the story is going to suffer from that, but the story has to keep that in mind. That at any point, someone could be playing as a male or a female, and they could be playing that male or female a certain way. And, that's how is that going to affect here and there? You would think that they're just going to dodge certain things, but who knows? So while I agree with you with this series being in history, you should write it to be, here's what's happening. This is what happened.
Just write a story and stick to it.
And I'm really curious if what they're going to do is say, and this is what I know, how I normally play. I normally play as like a good guy. I try to help everybody. I try to do what I thought was right, whatever. I might play that way, but it might still turn out historically accurate that like my side of the story never gets told. I was the Vikings who came in and pillaged and did all this, but no, I saved you guys from that, that ruler who was being horrible to you guys. And I came in, kicked him out, and was nice to you. But no, I'm the bad guy suddenly. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to still say that history remembered Eivor as a villain, even though you might have played him as a hero or her as a hero. But I do, it's one of the, basically what I want to get to is, I agree with you in that it does hurt it does make the story have to work differently when you give that freedom. But for this game and with it trying to work around history, I do like how they're approaching it this time. Of history doesn't know what this character was.
Right.
You fill in the blank,
to an extent, like, I like that concept, the idea of who really was Eivor. We just know of this, and it fits the assassins in theory, but we're to assume, because again, I haven't looked up anything for Valhalla. I've just consumed everything that's found me. So I'm going and assuming that in a large way, largely considered, we're getting a lot of what Odyssey gave us, but expanded.
Yeah.
Because that's how UB does sequels. And this is a sequel.
Well, and so how much have you seen of Valhalla? Have you watched like any previews or anything like that?
No, I've watched trailers. I watched what was at the Ubisoft Forward.
So they've actually dialed it back a fair amount. They tried to build in less side quests and focus more on the story. The map is smaller.
So then my question is, how much of that is dialogue and choice based? Because if you're focusing more on the story, and you expect more, like, how much do we have control over events and Eivor's reaction to events?
Yeah. I mean, as I understand it, there are times where you can choose to save a lord, you can kill a lord, spare a lord. Like, there's lots of options. So,
well, I guess my whole point is there are ways to explain it, and a good way to explain it would be history doesn't know who Eivor is. But I think it's safe to assume that we're going to spend a lot of time getting to know Eivor, making choices for Eivor, building bonds with Eivor. So it seems like a pretty big cop out. And it's for those that have been angrily typing comments for the past 20 minutes while I've been just building so much hatred towards myself. Subtext is a really big deal for me. I look at information. I take in information and I look at what I feel like I'm being told, or what something could mean. Like, the way someone says something is as important as what they say, in my opinion, usually. So in this sense, if we're going to be building those bonds with Eivor, getting a character story with Eivor, all that kind of stuff, it seems like a cop-out just to say that this one piece of information that the Animus didn't have on Eivor's life is their gender. Mm-hmm. And at that point, there are certain aspects of character writing to where men and women are written differently. Mm-hmm. I know that like, ooh, a lot of people are probably just like, wow, what a misogynistic thing for you to say. But honestly, it's kind of true. Like there are certain aspects of like psychology in how men and women process different things and the way they, just not to stereotype anything, obviously, but they're written differently. Mm-hmm. I've written both characters. They're written differently. I've read a lot of really well-written characters. They're written differently. That's just how I see things. Mm-hmm. And so how differently are male and female Eivor going to be written? Mm-hmm. And if they're written the same, to me, that suffers both sides of the character. Mm. And if they are written different, then it's like, well, then how were there differences in personality considered when the Animus didn't know, like, you know, like all this kind of stuff? Like how much is the Animus really fabricating then to where it's like this, it just doesn't feel like it meshes for me, you know? Mm-hmm. It really just feels like, and the thing with Assassin's Creed, it really just feels like they don't care about Assassin's Creed anymore. They care about their RPG franchise, and they don't have the balls to just kill Assassin's Creed and make something new, unless if Gods and Monsters does well, because they are, I'm telling you guys, they are trying to kill Assassin's Creed. They are trying to get rid of it. They are trying to find an RPG system setting, whatever, that works, that they can use to build another game off of. Yeah. And Assassin's Creed is literally the Ubisoft proving ground. And that's just what it is. And for me personally, it just seems like such a waste because, and this is what I said about Odyssey. They tried to do a Greek mythology game that also could be an Assassin's Creed game, and they did both of them poorly because they were trying to do both at the same time. Right. In the words of Ron Swanson, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Whole-ass one thing.
And they need to do that. Either go back to doing Assassin's Creed as we've been, you know, taught, gotten used to it being done. If you want to make it to where the Animus fills in the gaps, then don't write a story in which those gaps should be a lot more important than they are, if that makes sense. You know, and there's nothing wrong. Games like God of War, Last of Us, whatever, Ghost of Tsushima, there's nothing wrong with a game, linear or not linear, that you play through its story and the story goes a specific way, and that's it. Those games get Game of the Year pretty frequently. There's nothing wrong with that. So, like, why not just make Assassin's Creed something like that again? Make it to where these experiences actually matter so we remember them, so we don't get confused in our heads. Wait, which Assassin's Creed was this? Right. Because they're all are kind of the same thing. They're all melding so much. It's just the RPG game now. And that's a bummer for me because I loved Assassin's Creed. Yeah. And I just hate to see it happen like this because it deserves better. And we honestly deserve better from Assassin's Creed. And I know it's like, whoa, Steven, you got real heated about this little thing. But whenever I talk about Assassin's Creed, this happens, right? Because everything connects. It's like one little thing. It's like, but wait, that's a problem because this, which is this and this and this, and it just builds. And this should tell you how much I really wish that it would get its act back together, or that I could just enjoy it for what it is. But again, I'm a subtext guy. The details are important. The context of the details are important.
I want to say three things to wrap up this topic. Number one, and I'm blanking because we went a lot of different directions there. I agree with you that like games like Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, stuff that here's their story and here's actually Horizon Zero Dawn did have choices, but there are games that you can just tell a story and they do great. I don't think there's no way in my mind that Assassin's Creed ever goes back to that without branching off into another series, because they've come this far. People, I think in general, the audience wants to have inclusivity. And again, we've already, as we've said, and I'm going to circle back to this. That's great. That's awesome that they're doing that. But why does it have to be this series? But so I just say that. My other thing is, for me personally, playing Assassin's Creed, probably what's going to make or break my choice is going to be the voice actors, and who's the better voice actor. And so I can't wait to get into that and see which one I like better.
I think that's most people probably. And I'm very thankful that a lot of people are able to do that. Because it was the same way with like Commander Shepard in Mass Effect 3. I think a lot of people said that Fem Shep, because I think she was voiced by Jennifer Hale, maybe. People said that she was better than regular Shepard. See, to me, I can't not play regular Shepard just because his voice is such a meme for me at this point, to where I just find him hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's a valid thing, because the voice acting is so important. But to me, it would just make so much more sense if, like, Assassin's Creed, like Ubisoft, do your RPG thing to where it's all about choice. It's a fantasy world, all that kind of stuff. But like, there was something so charming and interesting about the way Assassin's Creed told such a long-term interconnected story. It didn't land well. Gosh, my lights on my screen are going nuts. I'm going to look like I'm at a rave in the final product of this. But it didn't land well. But like, I mean, think about how many people have actually talked about the modern day story in Assassin's Creed in the past several years. Yeah,
nothing's happening.
It's because even though that was like the linchpin for the narrative with Desmond, and even a little bit after that, it just doesn't matter anymore. And so Assassin's Creed has lost what made its story unique. And so I would love it if they brought that back, but I just don't think we'll ever see it again, as much of a shame that is.
To cap this topic off, like we said at the beginning, inclusivity is awesome. This is exciting that they're doing it with this. Just the basis of what Assassin's Creed is, being a historical game, makes it maybe not the best choice for it.
But inclusivity is good.
Yes,
I'm all for that. But this is literally the one game I wouldn't have done this to.
Right.
Like, it's the one series where I have so many issues with it just on like a concept level.
Speaking
and it's
of
not
series,
because of it being inclusivity. It's just because you need to pick a shoe and wear it, like that's.
Picking of games with lots of issues. Let's talk about Avengers. Steven, Kate Bishop's been delayed. The next generation upgrade has been delayed. Talk to me about this. You've got the article. What is happening? You're our Avenger man right now.
I am. Crystal Dynamics has been they're the ones that developed the game. Square Enix published it. They've had a rough month because they released this game. They released Avengers. And for a lot of people, it went fine. Like me, I don't know what it is with these games. I don't get technical issues. I don't get glitches or anything, but I fully acknowledge these things are happening. I guess I just got lucky. I haven't really gotten any of the technical issues except for some frame rate drops occasionally. But I mean, Jake has literally seen Kamala disappear and be nothing but hair. Hulk has cloned himself and fallen through the Quinjet.
Multiple
Kamala's
times.
arm has gotten stuck in space while we're on Earth. Just all these things. And most of it's not game breaking, barely even game affecting, but it's still stuff that needs to be fixed.
Most of it is honestly charming. Because of how bad it is.
Yeah. But couple that, like the technical issues, with the fact that we were told in October Taking Aim was going to start. That's Kate Bishop's story. And then Kate Bishop would come out. And then we'd have our first post-launch hero, and then we'd get Clint shortly after. And it feels like they've been a bit radio silent. The tensions have been getting worse, I feel like, from the community every single Thursday, where they would post, here's the reset for the week, because their reset happens on Thursday. And you get all these people that are just like, where's the content? What's up? When in fact, it's been a little over a month since this game came out.
Right.
Like, that's crazy to me. It really feels like it's been way more than a month since Avengers came out. But it has been, I think, 6 weeks, something like that. So Crystal Dynamics addressed that this week. They released new content in the form of Tachyon Rifts, which is a new kind of time attack mission, but you have these rifts that you can touch to extend your time. So it's not really time attack to where you have this amount of time, deal with it. It's more of just time management, which I like. That's a good way to alleviate the pressure of, I have 2 minutes to do 6 minutes of work basically. So they released Tachyon Rifts. They released a new outpost, which is the new Shield headquarters. Maria Hill is there. Dum Dum Dugan is there. And you'll like this.
Dum Dum Dugan.
They added a terminal at outposts where you can talk to the faction leader, or the faction mission vendor at the other outpost.
Oh, that's great.
So you can just talk to seriously,
and you can get everybody's.
Yeah, you can talk to Sarah Garza, aka Seriously You're the Best. You can talk to her at the helicarrier.
Seriously, that's the best.
That's the best. Yeah. So some good improvements, and they've been doing good improvements steadily every single week, like clockwork. They've been patching this game, and they've been very transparent. And this week, they launched the Tachyon Rifts, but no Kate Bishop. It was just kind of the opening into, hey, this is coming. But then on the 15th, which was Thursday, so yeah, it was later that day, I guess. They posted a state of the game update. It was a letter to the community, and I'll go ahead and read the just kind of the top part. I won't get into the details of like what came with this update because I already talked about that a bit. But to our community, we have been thrilled to see so many of you enjoying Marvel's Avengers, to watch you fall in love with Kamala Khan in the Reassemble campaign, customize iconic superheroes your way, and discover new Warzone co-op strategies with your friends. Marvel's Avengers launch was not without turbulence, and we recognize that a number of issues detracted from your enjoyment of the game. This does not align with Crystal Dynamics' value of craftsmanship, and for that we sincerely apologize. Over the past weeks, our team around the world has been heads down fixing bugs and tuning key gameplay systems, guided in part by your feedback. Since launch, we've released rapid updates to address these bugs, improve game stability, and refine our matchmaking system. While our work is never done, these fixes and additions have made improvements to the overall player experience. As a sign of our appreciation for being with us from the start of this journey, beginning at 10 a.m. PDT, October 22nd, players will receive a digital thank you bundle, which includes 1,500 credits, which is enough for a legendary skin and nameplate from the marketplace, or is it 1,000 or 1,500 that is a battle pass for a character?
It's 1,000 for a battle pass. Okay. But like so which this is, I don't fully understand how they made this, but like there are some outfits that are 1,500 credits. So like that could get you one outfit, or when Kate Bishop does come out, you can get her challenge card and then some extra credits. Yeah. Which by the way, and we've talked about this before, but just as a reminder, those challenge cards, as you complete them, reward you credits.
Give you credits back. So they give you get back the amount that you you get back the amount that you spent on them if you complete them. But for just a straight up cash value on those credits, that's just the first part of the pack. That's $15. Just outright. 7,000 units, which is a good bit. That's enough for I think 2 costumes from the cosmetic vendor. 250 upgrade modules, which I think when they released this article was the amount I had gotten in the entire game.
Wow.
20 DNA keys, which is probably more than the amount of DNA keys that I found in the game in my amount of time playing.
I was about to say that might be the biggest thing they were giving away, because you get those from beating villain sectors, right?
You can get 1 a day per villain sector. So I think that's 2 a day.
Yeah.
So 20 of those.
Wow.
That's pretty great. And then this part was very tongue in cheek. It just kind of shows they do understand what's going on. They do listen. A Sarah Garza inspired nameplate, parentheses, because seriously, you're the best. I thought that was great. This bundle will be available until 10 a.m. November 5th. We are committed to you in making Marvel's Avengers the superhero game we all aspire it to be. Over the next weeks, months, and year, we'll tell new stories infused with Marvel DNA, debut fan favorite superheroes and supervillains, release new regions and gear, and introduce fresh multiplayer game experiences under our new Omega level threat umbrella. We are on this journey together, building the exciting future as a team. And then they go into more detail on this blog. I'm going to find the Kate Bishop part just so I can talk about that. But the Omega level stuff is basically, I don't know if you can call it raid content, but it's like the max threat content. So like the cloning lab that's coming soon, that's going to be an Omega level threat. Sounds interesting. Moving forward, we intend to have a fixed, predictable patching cycle to ensure all content meets both our and your standards and has time for extensive internal testing. We know fans are hungry for new content, but delivering a fun experience is our priority. With this in mind, we've decided to push Kate Bishop's operation launch back a bit out of October. We're sorry for the slight delay, but we are dedicated as a team to quality first. And that affects, it was just the domino effect, pushing back Kate a bit, pushed back Clint a bit, and then those are probably the only two heroes we'll get this year, which is fine. And then early 2021, we'll get, quote, our biggest Avengers Initiative edition yet, with a new hero, new region, and narrative arc. My best guess is Wakanda and Black Panther. Which would make the most sense. And then they've also made the decision to shift our PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X/S launch to next year to ensure that we give our team the time to deliver a next-gen experience showcasing all this game is meant to be. More details to come.
Is that pretty much,
talked a lot.
I want to. I have a question on that. So when I heard that of we're pushing next gen to 2021, I am assuming like. I'm thinking like May. So like 5 months into the new year. How do you read that? Because I've heard some other podcasters being like, oh yeah, probably like January, February. And I'm just like, that's optimistic in my head. But maybe it would make pessimistic. It would make the most sense to me that they bulk it in with their Wakanda biggest update yet with Wakanda. We assume Wakanda. Yeah, if with what we're assuming is Wakanda, it would make sense if they were to do that, because then it could be like a big like, oh, title update 2 or whatever like that. Yeah. And it showcases all this stuff. I can, see the trailer now. Go to Wakanda, play Black Panther, new enhanced on Xbox Series S, X, PlayStation 5, all that kind of stuff. That just makes the most sense from a marketing standpoint. It's kind of like a second launch almost. Yeah. So that needs to be a big moment for them where they're not just like on a Tuesday in May being like, hey, we're upgraded now. They need to cross launch it with something else. Yeah. That's a good idea. And it was a lot of stuff that they talked about. They mentioned mega hives and how they hear the fan base saying that it's a bummer that that's only single player content right now. They said that a multiplayer version is on the way. Cool. Which is great news because it needs to be multiplayer. Yeah. But all that to be said, sorry, I need to get some water. Yeah. Do you take a sip for a second? You talked a lot there. I'll cover for you. What I think this is all. I think it's sad. It sucks, obviously, as people are hungry for new content in this game. I know there was an article that player base had dropped below 1,000, or like active players had dropped below 1,000 or something on Steam, which was just like crazy. But it's just because, I think most people are waiting for the next thing. What's the next hero? Where are we going? So it's nice. I think Crystal Dynamics is doing so many things right. I think they're nailing their microtransactions where they're not major. You can get the challenge card, which gets you cosmetics and items. And then if you finish the challenge card, you get the amount of credits you spent. They're doing a lot of things great. I love their transparency here of, look, we hear you. We're working on things. Quality is our number one concern. If that means we're pushing back some content, we're going to push it back because we want to make sure that you're having the best experience with the game that you can. I know, for me playing through the story, just in general, I've had so many glitches with the game. As I've said, some of them are funny and endearing. But like when I was playing through the story and the mission where Thor comes in, for whatever reason, my audio glitched to where I could only hear what Thor said, like nothing else. I couldn't hear sound effects. I couldn't hear other people talking. I literally just heard anything Thor said. And so anyway,
that's not a fun glitch.
Not a fun glitch,
that's not,
right? Yeah. So the fact that they're saying, okay, we don't want to continue the story until we know that's not going to happen again. I appreciate that. And just in general, I appreciate how much they are listening to the community, and they really are going through and listening and trying to fix issues, and they're listening to gripes of the mega hives and stuff like that. So I think they're doing it all right. I like the game. I think, I felt like this way when they initially announced Avengers. I thought they should have postponed it. I thought it should have gotten delayed. I'm still shocked that it came out when it did, without more delays than it had. I really do kind of feel like they almost should have pushed when they. I feel this way about a lot of games like Cyberpunk. I don't know why Cyberpunk, after they delayed so many times, when they delayed the last time, I don't know why they didn't just delay into 21 and say this is going to be a next gen game now. I assume it would have taken a lot more work to make that happen, but I digress. I'm excited to hear that they're working on this and that they're trying to make it right. And I think a year from now, when there is a ton of content in the game, and they really have fully fleshed it out, I think it'll be doing great. So
yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Avengers is good right now. But it's going to be great eventually. And regarding just how Crystal Dynamics handled this whole thing, something about the way they talk about this game, maybe it's just a masterclass of how to manipulate in PR. And you know what? They've got that Marvel money, so maybe they do have that going for them. But something about the way they talk sounds genuine. It feels genuine in the way they talk about the game, when they were like announcing new things for it, in the way they talk about it, in knowing, like saying like, hey, we need to do better, all that stuff. I believe them. Yeah. And it only helps when they are in this post here constantly referencing things that the community talk about. Seriously, you're the best. Like that right there was just like, oh, okay. So you do know what's going on. Like they did subtle little things in the way they've talked. That's like, oh, they actually do seem to have their ear to the ground. That's really good to know. And then them putting their money where their mouth is, just being like, hey, we're already really generous with the way we do microtransactions. Here's $15.
Here's $15. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's really cool. And it isn't anything with like a disclaimer. It isn't like you have to unlock it by doing this, or
you just have to log in.
You just have to log in. It's literally free. There's no, you have to have owned it from this point back. There's none of that. It's just, here you go. We really appreciate the fact that you guys are still playing. I believe them. I believe that they want to make this game the best they can. And I was talking to McCoy, who I played Ghost of Tsushima on Saturday with, about this, about why maybe I feel a little bit differently about this, because there's a game like Anthem, where I do believe that people working on Anthem, and Division 2 is another good example. I'm just going to talk about them the same, and putting the disclaimer there that this is just how my impression of those. I'm not saying that this is how it was, because I didn't research it, because this podcast is largely opinion based on news that we report. But with Anthem and Division, the vibe that I kind of got from those was someone was really passionate, or a group of people were really passionate. But at the end of the day, when you have this new IP, this new thing that's being created, it's hard, or in theory, to me, it seems like it may be harder to get a full team really invested and excited about this thing that some guys came up with, but then you have Avengers, and it's like the biggest thing in the world. Like it's Marvel. So I posed the question, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. Do you think that it's possible that it does feel more genuine / is more genuine because they built a team of people that is actually passionate about Marvel and not just a team of people that are good at their craft that they're expecting to just get on board with this IP that some random person created.
Right. See, it's an interesting, I think to answer your question, I think I agree with the idea that, yeah, this team of developers it's obvious that they love the material, right? They love Marvel, they love comics. And so they obviously are very passionate. I would wager to say, though, just based on what I know, and this is coming from different podcasts that I listen to that are hosted by people who either used to be game developers or are game developers. My understanding is the game developers, the people who are actually making the game, are usually pretty passionate outright. Where it starts to break down is the people who are making decisions. So executives and people at the topmost level. If they're not either seeing the results that they were hoping for, or if they themselves just aren't passionate about whatever topic it is, then I think that's where it starts to break down.
I guess I just kind of posed that question because Division has seemed like the exact opposite lately, because it seems like they're outsourcing a lot of their grunt work, and they kind of leave certain people fully in charge of certain things, and it ends up feeling like the people who made the thing, it may be good content, like it may be quality from like a design standpoint, but it doesn't go with the rest of the bigger picture. And so I guess that was kind of my thought, was that because they have the advantage of the team working on an adaptation, there's a lot more of an established idea. There is a source material, I guess. It's kind of like the whole story of when Lord of the Rings, the films were being made. Peter Jackson handed I don't know if this is a true story or not, but I did hear this said. Peter Jackson handed everyone in the cast a copy of the books and said, "There's your script," pretty much. So to me, like maybe that played a factor. I don't know. Maybe Division just has no heart in it anymore.
Right.
That's possible.
I mean, but I could totally see, and I think this is an interesting case study, right? With games of service titles, you know, from a developer standpoint, how do they keep the passion going? Because I'm sure when they're developing and they're getting the game to launch, I'm sure there's a lot of passion. I'm sure there's a lot of struggle, a lot of heartache. And then you get it out, and it's exciting, and it's exhilarating. And then you're dealing with patches, you're making the game work. And then you hit a point where it's good. Right. And it's, you're still working on minor things, but you're basically just keeping it running. And obviously you're developing some newer story. Like I'm thinking of Destiny, where it's like, okay, every year there's like a big, story push, and it's, it's up to opinion of what you think about those and are they worth it or whatever. But I do wonder if, from a developer standpoint, if, the people who are working on Destiny 2 now, are they still as passionate about it as when they were first developing Destiny 2, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if there is something about getting to the next thing. What's the next number? I wonder if that's more exciting and more engaging as a developer than maintaining the same title that you've had.
Yeah. I feel like, at least from a morale standpoint, in Crystal's situation, I feel like it's easier to rally as a developer than it would be for something like The Division or Anthem, because
that was
even though they do have that
sign for everybody who's watching me twist my hand in the air, like I'm not telling Steven to wrap it up. I'm saying gotta rally. So there you go. Sorry.
He is telling me to wrap it up. This is my last point. But from a standpoint of like Division, Anthem, Avengers, launches that didn't go well, games that
forgot about Anthem. I'll be honest. Yeah, I've completely.
Most people have. It's still in my heart somewhere. But those are games that Avengers is fighting the uphill battle of adaptation, which is expectation versus reality. People wanting a certain thing to be a certain way because these are their heroes. These are their characters that they want to see done a certain way. But on the other hand, Division, Anthem fight the uphill battle of having to sell themselves to you. Avengers is a Marvel property. It is a lot easier to be able to say things like, we are committed to making this the best superhero game it can be, because we all have that kind of collective subconscious vision of what a great Marvel Avengers game can be. And we all strive for that. And we know that if they work on it, they can get there. So it's a lot easier for them to rally because they know that once they get this thing going, everyone's going to come back. But you get a game like The Division or Anthem especially on this end, where it's like, it just doesn't, players don't get it. They're just like, I'm bored with this. I don't understand. Not only when you rally or attempt to rally, not only are you going to have to figure out how to undo the F up, but also you have to still sell these people who may have already tried once or heard their friend try it once. You have to sell or resell them on your thing that they have no knowledge of. So I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting thing to consider, because like normally we think of adaptations as being a bit of an uphill battle. Right. But on this end, it almost seems to really work in their favor. Yeah. At least I feel like it makes it more believable, because I do feel like a large part of the team grew up reading these comics or watching these movies or playing those games, to where these people, it's going to be hard for them to lose the passion because they've had the passion for X number of years already.
Speaking of having the passion, I have a whole lot of passion for Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Steven, let's talk about it. We've been playing it. We're about to play more of it, just you and me. We're going to have a nice Sunday afternoon play sesh. Well, you've been talking. I'll talk about my thoughts.
Thank you.
When I first heard that, when they first announced Ghost of Tsushima Legends, I was surprised and then just super excited, because it was something that I did not expect, did not need, but am now so excited that exists and cannot wait to see what they do with it. And then now, having played it, we did a stream Friday. I've gotten to do a little bit in some free time this weekend. I rewatched half of the live stream you and McCoy and Kaylin and some of the guys did last night. I don't know what it is.
I'm sorry that you watched that stream. Ugh.
I don't know what it is about this game. Obviously we all know I loved Ghost of Tsushima. I've talked about this before, that it is probably my game of the year at this point. Yeah. It just, something about how Sucker Punch, how they make their games just jives with me so well. It feels so good and so right. And so right now the game is, there's what, 9-10 story missions that you can do. It's two players can do that together. There are different difficulty levels, so that's kind of cool. You can go back and play, and you're constantly leveling up and earning stuff, earning gear. You can play through those, and then there's a survival mode. And the way the survival mode works is there's a couple maps. On those maps, there's 3 control points. 4 maps total. Okay. There's 4 maps, but on each map there's 3 control points. You defend those control points from 15 waves of enemies. If you lose a control point, you lose some of your health. You lose off the max health. It's a simple mode. There's nothing crazy unique about what it is, but it just freaking works. Steven and I and Kaylin, we played. Kaylin and I were both assassins. Steven was a Ronin. Steven was healing and calling out who needs to go where.
If you thought I was healing then, just wait till we play this afternoon. Boy, I got those heals.
I've got to get Hunter. I really, after watching how you played and then thinking about how I played, because I played as an assassin, and the reason I picked the assassin was because everyone can do another interesting thing about this is there's 4 classes, right? Every class can do what you can do in the main game, right?
Yeah, all the core mechanics that you're used to in the main game.
You have I don't know that it's fully maxed out stances, but like the water stance, right? When you hold triangle to set up your heavy attack, when you release that and start spamming it, you just go. It is what I'm pretty sure was like the max level of what you could unlock for the water.
I'm glad you mentioned that because noticing playing with the wind katana and the water katana, the water katana, and I don't know if this is just a water katana thing, but I noticed that I did this. It has a perfect dodge, heavy hitting counter thing to where like you sidestep and then you do the backstab thing. It has that, and I remember that being an unlocked ability. And also the wind katana, unless if I just was going hard or something, it always blocks spear attacks while you're attacking.
That was an unlockable skill for that.
Yes. So I think it is the full version of the stance is what your weapon has.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, you have all the basics. But then each class has certain special abilities they can do. Like the Ronin can summon a dog. The Hunter can do an explosive arrow. The Assassin can turn invisible for a second to do a stealth attack. There's lots of different special skills that each class has that are very mythology or like have a lot more mythical elements to it. So it's which kind of goes along with the theme. But anyway, that's where it really starts to get interesting because just a second ago, I was playing with 4 assassins and we did fine, but like 3 of us were down and it was basically just, okay, the one guy left needs to turn invisible, heal one of us, and then we need to take it slow and get everybody else back up. Whereas playing with Steven or Ronin, one of his main abilities is he can heal or revive anyone from across the map. That's a huge thing.
Limits to my revival range.
No limits.
My inspiration will find you.
The Hunter, how I should have been playing with Steven and Kaylin, I should have picked the Hunter because we played this one level that had a cliff. And at the top of this cliff, there was an archer tower. Yep. And every single round before the wave started, I would climb up there, call out what's happening, and then I'd start shooting. And everyone can shoot, but the Hunter, being literally the ranged character, has so many more benefits of like there's a skill you can unlock for that where body shots have a 75 or a 50% chance 50%. To do body damage. Head.
Yes.
A body headshot shot damage. Has 50% chance to do headshot damage. Like, yes, that's awesome. That's great. So
the real game changer is being able to refill your ammo using your resolve.
Yes.
Because if you are doing your job, unlike I was, because I just forgot how to use a bow on that stream and finally figured it out during the last like 40 minutes. But if you're, getting kills and everything, you can use your resolve to just fill up your ammo to where you literally can just sit up in a sniper tower and go.
Just go.
And that's the thing that made the Hunter click for me because ammo is really an important thing. And I'll stop here. With this thought, you can do any of those core tasks. Like you can stealth with any character, just not cloak. You can shoot with any character, just not be really good with ammo management, or your headshots won't do as much damage. You can sword fight with any character, but the samurai is the most sustainable in sword fighting. You can use a healing gourd with any character to self-heal, but the Ronin is by far the healing boy of the party. So like you can build a Ronin like I did at first with a ranged charm with a really good bow, and you can be a bow damage Ronin, but there are drawbacks to that you won't have because you're not playing a Hunter. Like your ammo is going to suffer, and that's a huge deal. So it was a cool way to do that. I like that I can still do the things, but I'm all about like that aspect of everyone's got their role.
Yeah.
And this seems to do that really well.
Yeah. It does. It definitely, going into it, I was like, how is this going to work? How are these roles going to work? They absolutely work. It absolutely, it's one of those things that like you could play however you want to play. It's just going to work better if you assign roles, if you have a team. And like the one thing we don't have right now, we know a raid is coming, right? That's where I think roles are going to matter. Like you're going to want to have a Ronin. You're going to want to have a tank. You know, you may want to have an assassin. I really don't know, because the survival stealth is just out of the question. Like the only real benefit of the assassin is you can run in, drop your smoke bomb, and then maybe get a couple of stealth kills really quick.
The assassin isn't useless because in addition
it's definitely
to
not. I mean, he can. I was holding points by myself just because I had smoke bombs and I could do my super slash and.
Yeah, I guess it's definitely, its utility is a lot more noticeable in story.
Yes,
but there, a lot of the assassin's tricks are very valuable in survival as well. McCoy played assassin, and I got to see a bit more of what it can do. But it seems like it does a good bit of like debilitating effects, like a status character. So you can like poison, weaken, bleed, all that kind of stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it may have more tricks that allow it to like crowd control. That would make sense. But
really
every character,
bombs,
every character seems to have kind of a duality to what it's supposed to do. I don't know what the samurai's, what its duality is. And I would say the hunter probably doesn't. And that's why I underestimated it first, because when I looked at the Ronin and the assassin, the Ronin, I was able to say, oh, this guy is a support character / summoner and a healer. He can do both of those pretty well. So you can kind of commit to one of those two things. The assassin can do the stealth stuff. They can do the CC kind of stuff, the debilitating things. So that's cool. And then the samurai just being super self-sustaining is really useful, and having that extra tankiness, which, you know, I know is self-sustained. But so I underestimated the hunter because I looked at it and I was just like, you shoot a bow. We all shoot a bow, but it totally is like a noticeable thing to have. So I don't know what
so much better.
You do. I don't know what I would say its duality is, but I don't know if it needs one.
Right. It's exciting. I love it. The co-op story missions I've enjoyed. I think you definitely have to, like, we were playing through it while streaming.
How many of those have you done?
I've only done what you and I have done.
Okay. I played one more solo. I love what they're doing with the story missions.
That's what I was going to say. I think the story is really cool, but you have to be playing with the right friend. And not that you weren't the right friend, Steven. You and I we were live streaming, so we were trying to be entertaining, and we weren't really focusing on what was being said.
That's what we should do when we get on here in a little bit. We should totally do the missions.
Yeah.
But if I may kind of do an overview summary super quick on the story missions, basically what they're doing, you know, Ghost of Tsushima is historical fiction. Tsushima and the samurai are a thing that happened in Japanese history, but Jin Sakai is a fictional character. So it takes that time and applies a fictional story to it. What Legends does is it takes Japanese mythology and it says, you are, instead of playing like a historical somewhat perspective of these events, we are just ripping the knob off and we are making it to where this is just pure 100% mythology fiction, to where you are playing as the four ghosts, like spirits of fallen heroes. You are fighting against Oni. You are dealing with the gods Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo. You're dealing with that kind of stuff. You fight alongside the spirit of the fox spirit or whatever. Like, there's all this crazy stuff. There's this crazy imagery of like bleeding hearts in the sky. There's all the red and the like. It looks like a different game almost. Yeah, which is really impressive because like Ghost of Tsushima, I've mentioned, has this kind of, like, the story has this kind of serene beauty to it, even though it's surrounded by such dark tales. But Legends is like, it's got this kind of bedtime story, fairy tale kind of feel to it. Horror fairy tale. Yeah. And it's so clever. It makes so much sense because in doing that, they're able to tell these really cool stories based in mythology, but they're also able to take like the legend of the samurai, the legend of the Ronin, of the assassin, and they're able to be like, what would these guys be able to do in a fairy tale version of what we know them in history? Which is why like the Ronin can like attune with spirits, because it's a samurai that is kind of living off the land or without a master and all that kind of stuff. And so they're able to take that and kind of go more with that. And it's really clever. I really appreciate when concepts are so smart and I didn't think of it, like with Hades and how they did it as a roguelike.
Right.
So brilliant. And they really knocked it out of the park with this. But with those missions, Jake, we played the first one, I think, maybe the second one. The one that we left off on, just to give you an idea of how dynamic these things are. The one we left off on when Kaylin joined us for survival, there was a ritual of the three gods, the three goddesses. And you had to attune your blade to each god to destroy the ritual, but enemies could be attuned to those elements. So there was Susanoo, which is the god of storms, Amaterasu, god of sun, and Tsukuyomi, god of moon.
Moon, yeah.
And enemies could be attuned to those colors. So if your blade is attuned to that color, you do more damage to them. If it's not, you do less damage, and your blade will have an effect. Like if you have Susanoo, your blade becomes green, and when it's sheathed, like your sword in its hilt will be like, or its scabbard will be like arcing electricity.
That's cool.
And stuff like that. And so like that plays a role in that mission, and it comes back later on. In another mission, you get a spirit bow that can remove the attunement of an enemy in case you don't have the attunement with you. Like it's all this crazy stuff to where they add these mechanics to where each mission feels like its own thing.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And I love it. I love it so much. I'm all about when these games, especially like single player games where you would never think, give this thing a co-op mode. And yet they're just like, okay, we'll do that. And they do it in such a way to where like they really put effort into it. Like the best example for me would be, I know not everybody loves it, but Mass Effect 3, how to me, that's weird. That's the second Mass Effect reference in this episode. And I haven't ever mentioned Mass Effect before, probably. But the co-op mode was better than the single player, in my opinion. And it had that aspect of just deep enough to keep my attention and get me addicted to it, but not overwhelming, and simple enough to where I can just kind of hop in and do whatever. It's just great. It's great. It reminds me of the Xbox 360, PS3 generation, when it wasn't unheard of for a game to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And not monetize it.
And one of the best parts of the story is that everything you do is narrated by Greg Baldwin, who is famously known for the voice for doing the voice of Iroh and Aku from Samurai Jack.
Shape-shifting master of darkness.
Yes.
Unleashed an unspeakable evil. I've
do a
his
really
monologue.
good Aku, Steven. That is one of your better impressions, I've got to say. I really like it.
I've had Aku's Samurai Jack theme song monologue stuck in my head. Now the fool must return to the past.
And it's really funny. It's funny too, because it's so weird. It's
like a weird mashup.
It's a mashup. He's like he's talking like Uncle Iroh, but with Aku's voice. And so it's very, very interesting. So
yeah, and he's our storyteller, and so he narrates everything. He even lies to the audience when he says that an enemy was felled by Steven's perfect accuracy.
Yeah.
But he like narrates a bunch of things, and it's great because, I mean, who doesn't love Iroh?
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Aku in a different way that they love Iroh? You know,
right.
Like it was such a smart. But
it happened.
Again, it's a different love, but it's a love.
Yeah.
But I just like, again, that's one of those things where it's like I couldn't have dreamed a better choice for that position.
Yeah.
It was literally the perfect choice. No. Yeah.
And to wrap this all up, because I want to go play Ghost of Tsushima Legends with you. It's great. I love it. I hope they do more. I hope we're getting new maps. I'd love a new mode. Obviously, we're getting a raid. I'd love another raid. Like anything else they are willing to give us for this, I will gladly just inhale. I want more of it.
It's designed in such a way to where they could just kind of do that. Like, because the stories are like,
they could add more story, whatever they wanted to do. It would be awesome.
Yeah, the stories are individual stories of dealing with a certain myth. And so it's gosh, what's the word? It's like anthology, basically, to where nothing connects to each other. So they could add more later on, be like, hey, we released 3 new story missions and here's a new map for survival. It fits that perfectly. They could do new classes if they wanted to, although I don't really think they need to. But new upgrades, new gear, all that kind of stuff, because the gear system's surprisingly in depth. Did you know that there is a reforge system akin to the Division for gear?
I did not know
I
that.
found that out last night and it blew my freaking mind.
That's awesome. It's great. It is a great mode. We've got to get to it. We got to get back to it.
We do.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of Chortle Cast. We do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, there's a couple things you can do to help us out. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already at chortlegames.com. You can like this video, share it with your friends, leave a comment, all that good stuff. If you're watching on Facebook, you're at Chortle Games on Facebook. You can also like, share, all that good stuff. But we don't only post content on YouTube and Facebook. We also post content like live streams on Twitter, at Chortle Games on Twitter, and on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/chortle_games. So feel free to watch us stream wherever you'd like to watch. The podcast is here on YouTube and Facebook, and then on Apple Podcasts. So be sure to follow us and listen to us wherever you'd like. We definitely welcome you wherever you want to join us. And then if you want to talk back and hang out with us, obviously you can do that in our live streams, but also we have a Discord. You can get to that in the description of this video. We post memes. We talk about what we're streaming for the week. We sometimes let you vote on what we're streaming. There's lots of good reasons to join the Discord. So feel free to do that to keep up with us even more. But that's it. Like I said, we do live streams throughout the week as well. Normally we do them on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Typically the Thursday stream, we try to make it a co-op stream where Steven and I are both doing something together. This week though, we're actually going to do that on Tuesday. So if you're watching the podcast live here on Monday at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, that'd be tomorrow night for you. So, we're probably going to do some Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Maybe focusing more on the story since we've seen a lot of the survival mode at this point. But we're open to whatever. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll be live streaming Friday and Saturday. So maybe some Ghosts, maybe some Avengers, maybe something completely random. You never know with us. It's just wherever the wind takes us.
Wherever the guiding winds take us.
Wherever the guiding winds take us. Bows in Samurai.
Bows in Samurai.
I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Steven and I have got to go play some Ghost of Tsushima Legends. We hope you have a great week. We'll see you in the live streams. Peace.